Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I call to order this session of Millersville Borough Council. If you would please stand, pledge the flag, and remain standing for a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. I suppose I should have mentioned, I apologize, I didn't have my script. It is 7:01 at the time we were starting for the folks on our live stream. Okay, first order of business today, we're looking to approve the minutes from our March 26th meeting. Do we have any discussion on the minutes? In that case, I'm looking for a motion to approve the minutes from March 26th.
I make a motion to approve. I'll second.
I have a motion and a second, barring further debate. I am looking for a vote to approve. All those in favor, please. Aye. Very good. Now then, Mr. Mayor, I believe you have a presentation for us.
I do. Thank you, Mr. President. But the greater thanks goes to one of our Millersville police officers, Officer Matthew Schaffer. Please step forward. Officer Schaffer has been with us 26 years. He has dedicated his life to the borough and our citizens. Thank you very much. And Officer Schaffer is working this evening. He's working Friday evening. He's taking some much-needed vacation time before his official retirement kicks in. I want to thank you very much for 26 years of dedication to our borough and our community and our citizens.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
My appreciation and appreciation of the borough, recognizing you for your service.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
I'll get on one side and we'll get a decent. Matt? Matt?
Yes, sir.
There you go.
Thank you.
Comes with a carrying case.
Don't forget the cat.
Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Oh, I was going to say thank Officer Schaefer, but he's already at the door. All right.
Go way back out to work.
All right. In that case, we are going to move to our citizens' requests or concerns. Bear in mind there is a 5-minute time limit for anything you'd like to bring to the borough's attention. If you would please step up to the microphone to make your comments for the benefit of the folks on our live stream. If you would prefer, we can bring the microphone to you as well if you're unable or unwilling. Do I have any citizens' requests or concerns? Yes, sir. Please step up to the microphone. Your name and address, please. Just speaking to the mic. You can ask whatever you like.
All right, thank you. Matt Hershock, 149 Trade Avenue. And I have terrible grammar. I was somewhat of an underachiever as a child and didn't have the privilege of Mr. Kaufhold as a teacher. Pointing fingers is not his fault. Like I said, my name's Matt Hershock. I own a house in Millersville. I'm here to talk about the short-term rental ordinance. My family's been in Lancaster a long time. My children were sixth generation Millersville. I went to Eshelman, Penn Manor, rode my bike to Rhodes Pharmacy, bought penny candy, spent summers at the Millersville pool, coached the swim team. My mother went to Millersville University. My father was active in the community. My great Aunt Alice used to be the crossing guard here at Fence Green, which is, you folks know, is the Millersville Mini Mart now. And I'm not telling you this to boast or to say I deserve special privileges. I'm saying it for two reasons. One is I love Millersville. I've never done anything to harm it. And two, I'm not some guy who's buying up property in order to take advantage of Lancaster County. After high school, I moved to Alaska, but I spent there 20 years. I moved back to Millersville because I missed it. People would ask me, why would you leave Alaska for Millersville? My answer was always, it's home. A couple I went to high school with, trying to buy a house. stayed there 3 years. In 2021, my wife's father was diagnosed with Parkinson's, so we decided to move closer to the family, which was nice because my father also lived there. He used to work at the Caterpillar plant that shut down. He had to relocate for work. I didn't want to get rid of the house because I knew we'd move back here someday. And we couldn't keep both houses because we couldn't cover the bills without doing something like renting it. We thought about renting it full term, month to month. But we came to the borough and we asked, could we Airbnb it? And they said yes. We were very clear from the start. Our intentions, we filled out the paperwork, got inspected, followed the rules, granted permission. We spent a lot of money furnishing the place, advertising, setting up websites, booking pages, channel managers. We checked with all our neighbors. 2 of them are actually here tonight to make sure that they were okay with it. Actually, my neighbor John put a new sump pump in my house. And the other fella, Justin, he shovels my driveway when it needs driveway shoveled. So my neighbors have helped out quite a bit, and they've actually told me they prefer it because if I rented it to someone, maybe they wouldn't like the person they rented to, and they like the fact that it's a short-term rental. In my opinion, a lot of this pushback on short-term rentals stems from big business. I think big business is feeling the pinch of the short-term rental industry. I don't mean to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but the people have spoken. People like short-term rentals, and I think big business would like to out-regulate the small guy. And the town I lived in Alaska for 20 years, the richest man in town, he did the same thing. He tried to outlaw the Airbnbs after a 2-year push of outlawing. After he put the Airbnbs out of business. So our cleaners, I talked to my cleaner today. She was concerned. This is how she pays for her groceries. She started as kind of like a hobby job. She's a full-time mother. She was today to tell me, I'm concerned. I'm not going to be able to pay my grocery bill anymore. My second backup cleaner, that's her whole business is cleaning Airbnbs. And if you do sweeping regulations, like I'm not a guy that's against regulations. There has to be some regulation in everything in life. But a sweeping regulation to make people update their homes with ramps and downstairs bathrooms and bedrooms and all these kind of things that's going to happen. The only people that will survive are the big business people. They'll be able to do it. Guys like me will never be able to do it. And I'm not going to sell the house. I'll keep it as a rental, hopefully pay it off and move back when you spend enough time with the family. We have 100 5-star reviews, no complaints. I haven't any complaints from my neighbors. The people talk about, we came for a Millersville University reunion, Penn Manor reunions, weddings, funerals, get-togethers, and you'll see that on the comments on my website, which, and they talk about, I went to John Hur's, wasn't that nice? I got my hair cut, I went to the restaurants, I went to the brewery, so it brings income. There's no place for these people to stay when they come to Millersville. You can't stay in a hotel in Millersville because there aren't any. So I've had professors there, teachers there, doctors, people just for business, and you'll see it in the comments, they spend money in the community. And like I said, I'm not asking for any special treatment, I'm just saying it was granted to me. I was open and honest about it. I said I'm doing an Airbnb. They gave me the permits. I spent a lot of money doing it, and I'm not here to cry about it. I just, it seems unfair to me that, I'm all out of time. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
We appreciate your comments, Mr. Hershock. We will be speaking at greater length about short-term rentals a little bit later in our agenda. In the meantime, are there any other citizens' requests or concerns? In that case, we'll move forward. Next up, we have discussion on our resolution concerning committee meeting structure. This is something we touched base on briefly last week. The intention behind this new structure is to have our council meetings include our various committees, finance, personnel, public works, all into one larger meeting at the beginning of the month, our first meeting of each month, and then having our second meeting of the month, pardon me, have our second meeting of the month set up so that we can pass what resolutions need to be passed, stemming from those committee meetings and that initial meeting. Anything further you'd like to say about it, Phyllis, Marion?
I don't think so. I think that covers it.
All right. Very well. In that case, you were all provided with a draft of the resolution. Were you all able to take a look at that? Hopefully, yes, while I pull it up. All right, very good. In that case, I am looking for, I'm sorry, is there any discussion, any further discussion that needs to be made about this particular resolution? None? Very well. In that case, we have a resolution of council of the Borough of Millersville, Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, addressing matters relating to standing committees of council. Do I have a motion to accept this resolution?
I move that we accept the resolution as presented.
Very well. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Very well. Then will all those in favor of this resolution please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
I heard 5. The resolution passes. Very well. Now moving on to discussion of council code of conduct. Not our last meeting, but the meeting prior to that. A citizen had some concerns about the conduct, not necessarily of this council, but of some of our other committees without being specific about it, and encouraged us to consider a code of conduct or adopting a code of conduct for meetings held in this hall. By our manager with a number of templates, including one from the school board, one from the Pennsylvania Municipal League, a civility pledge, as well as a, let's see here, Borough of Norristown's version of something similar. I have little to say about the contents of these. They're all basically similar, asking us to comport ourselves more or less in a professional and business-like way, a minimum of profanities, treating each other with respect, with the idea that we're a deliberative and civically minded group of people to provide outlet for individuals in the community to discuss and to have conversations respectfully between all of us without trying to talk over each other or gang up on each other, things of that nature. All of that I find to be perfectly acceptable myself. What I would like to encourage this council to do as we consider this is consider what this means in more practical terms, because I'm seeing a lot of nods of agreement here. What are our enforcement mechanisms? In what way do we decide when somebody has breached that code? And then when that happens, what outlets do we have? I've been combing through my favorite yellow book, Pennsylvania statutes, to look at exactly what kind of things, mechanisms are available to us to help enforce such a code. I haven't reached the end. It's a real nail biter. We have no draft of our own to present here, and we don't necessarily need a resolution at this point, but I would like to recommend that we consider a code of conduct of our own. Whether we attempt to draft that, there doesn't need to be a whole lot of legal wording in here, so that's not something I necessarily think we need a solicitor for. But that's something I'm happy to draft if you'd like once I finish going through here and see what's available to us for us to discuss perhaps at the first meeting in May, if everybody is in agreement.
I think it's a very good idea if we move forward with the whole idea of a code of conduct. And not only for those of us that are sitting up here at council meetings, but those people who might be at some of the other meetings that we have. Now, we will be moving into having our finance, personnel, and public works at an actual borough council meeting now. But there are other committees that meet that I think this code needs to apply to them as well. It's not just us.
Yes, of course. Further
Well,
discussion?
I would also say, in developing the code, there needs to be some sort of statement as to who and how a complaint should be addressed. In other words, somebody just coming in and being ticked off about something doesn't necessarily line up with the traditional code of conduct. So that also needs, I think that needs to be something that's part of what we discuss.
I agree, and we should temper this a little bit with the idea that folks don't come here or sit in those seats who aren't themselves passionate about civil government and about their community. We all might have different ideas about how that applies, but we all have that same core value of believing that this is a community, that we can work to make it better. So there will be times when there is a little bit more passion in the room as people disagree. We do want to try to keep it civil where we can, but allow for a little bit of leeway when perhaps there's issues of particular importance to an individual or group. So I think there's a way for us to thread that needle without being overly rigorous or overly burdensome. I do think we can pretty easily accommodate some mechanism for how those complaints get lodged by individuals and to whom that would be made. That would probably be this body here. So I'm going to, unless there's further discussion, move on from this one. Yes?
I'll just note procedurally, any code of conduct or civility pledge or whatever you want to call it that would get moved forward, we would need to pass that with a resolution. So eventually this will come to a vote on a resolution.
Yeah.
Right, but for the actual just drafting of it for our consideration, I think we're fine with that.
Yeah.
Very good. All right, in that case, we will move on to reports of boards, committees, and commissions. We have something from our number of items from our planning commission. Will that be you, Rebecca, or?
Yes, myself and Mike are going to tag team this.
I knew it would be one of the two of you. I'm expecting both.
All right, so at this previous Planning Commission meeting last week, a number of items are ready to come forward to council for next steps. Now, it's still a lot of next steps, but to council for next steps. The first one that you see listed on your agenda coming from Planning Commission is the Subdivision and Land Development Ordinance, also known as the SALDO. An update to that, which has been worked on for a number of months now, with the help of the consultant URDC, Urban Development Research Corporation. That was included in your backup for this evening. Now it's a hefty document.
I read it all and couldn't tell you what's on a single page.
It's a very long document that the Planning Commission gave lots of input on. And at this point, what we're looking for this evening would be a motion to authorize a number of steps. First one being review by our solicitor, followed by sending to the Lancaster County Planning Commission for review, as is required for any SALDO update, followed by advertising, and then followed by a public hearing at whatever is the subsequent council meeting after all of those steps have been completed. Mike, anything to add on that one?
No, I was going to say that largely a product of...
Mike, would you come up to the mic for us? Are you able to do so for me? For our folks viewing at home, the crowd of no doubt thousands.
Or zero, as the case may be.
I rewatch it sometimes.
As you see it, it's largely a technical document, and largely the document was prepared with your borough engineer, Rob Wisniewski, which I was going to consult. The Planning Commission did a certain review and had input into it, but it's largely a technical document as the subdivision development occurs. It's something that the borough, it was in our comprehensive plan update, something that the borough engineer has been requesting for a number of years to make things more consistent and easier when plans are submitted by applicants. So there's a lot of work that went into it. Largely that work again was from Rob, the borough engineer, and from Kyle and Rebecca and then the staff. It's largely a staff document. It will make things easier and more consistent in ways for developers too, though. People, because there have been things that were inconsistent, and in fact, there were one document said this and another document said that. One of the things that I'll just highlight, one of the few things is, our previous subdivision development did not require developers to do traffic studies. Now, we would always ask them, and in most cases lean on it pretty hard to get them to do it, because we always thought it was very important. But they didn't have to, because it wasn't in the ordinance. There was one developer, and in my time there was only one developer who kind of said, no, we weren't going to do it because they're not But now it'll be in the ordinance if you adopt this. So there are other things, but that's the one biggest change that I'd like to highlight. So I encourage you to go ahead and send it to the County Planning Commission and see what they have to say, and then advertise it. And Mr. Spiegel said when it does come to time to have a public hearing and to vote for adoption, he will come to that meeting, the council, to address any questions. So that's really all I can say about it.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Leidinger?
No, I know this is something that's been worked on for a long time and something that I think we need to move forward with.
Yeah, it's clear this is a document a lot of work has gone into. I see nothing in my reading of it that is objectionable to me. Following the subsequent steps that you listed out, Rebecca, review by the solicitor, sending to LCPC, advertising, and then public hearing, there is then the motion to formally adopt, presumably.
Yes, at the public hearing is your opportunity to formally adopt.
Very good. In that case, I am looking for a motion to authorize review by the solicitor, followed by the subsequent steps. Do I hear such a motion?
I so move.
Very
I'll
good.
second.
Hearing a motion and a second, and barring further discussion, all those in favor of moving? Absolutely.
Since the document is so large, is there any way we can get something of just the additions or the takeaways? The changes that are?
I don't know now, I don't know what document has been presented to you on some of the documents. When you find things that are either in italics or underlined, those are things that
Yes.
are changes. That's what Charlie did it. I don't know exactly.
That's the version you all were provided. So if you go through and look
it,
at that,
you see
yeah.
things that are either italicized or underlined. Those are things that would be changes.
Right, and there is a chapter name on there. If we were to look at our current documentation, I'm pretty sure we could see what the original was and be able to compare what's italicized to what's in this document. And frankly, by the time it is reviewed by the solicitor and the subsequent steps, I think that gives us plenty of time. That's what I plan on doing is reviewing and comparing.
I think the county planning commission is 30 days.
45.
45?
Yeah, they have 45.
45,
Yeah, so those who have concerns will certainly have time to do that review. All right, second time, barring further discussion. Will all those in favor of moving this document forward, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Very good. In that case, resolution passed.
Item. This one is more of it will be coming comment. In addition to working on the Saldo and Planning Commission, they've also been discussing the street and sidewalk ordinance. They very much go hand in hand. That ordinance update is going to be coming to you all likely at the next council meeting. It has come out of Planning Commission at this point. They've done their review, but there are a couple of changes that we need to look at on the staff side, specifically related to the technical aspects of the street and sidewalk requirements. So far, myself, Kyle, and Rob Wisniewski met yesterday or the day before, and we have another Thursday. So we will hopefully have those additional comments for council to look at this at the next meeting, but it did come out of Planning Commission, so they did vote to bring it to council pending staff comments. Anything to add?
Staff comments, so.
Yeah. Anything to add on that?
The only thing I'll add is this is in conjunction with the SALA, with what you've just adopted. The two things go hand in hand. And one of the things that Rob, your engineer, again pointed out, that here's where there are inconsistencies. The old SALA said one thing, and the old street ordinance said something else. So if you were a developer and looked at that, you would think, well, which one is it? This will clear up those inconsistencies, particularly with the street. The issues that Rebecca's talking about here, I think, have to do with some of the proposed openings of the streets for some of the work for the fiber optic thing. That wasn't included in our review, but now they're working with Charlie, Rebecca, and Rob, and Kyle to get those comments, and Charlie will present the final document. But the planning commission voted to approve it with pending those things. We're not gonna review it, but once those changes are made by the staff and Charlie, we're not gonna review those things.
Is this gonna put us in a difficult position, as we've already moved to, move the saldo forward to the solicitor, and we're waiting on this one? Is this gonna cause any conflicts or confusion?
No, not necessarily. They are separate chapters of our ordinance, so they can work separately. However, when we get to that point, the aim is to approve them on the same night, but we're just gonna work a little bit more on the street and sidewalk before we send that one to LCPC
I guess I should.
and to you all.
I guess I should have said they don't conflict with each other any more than they already did.
Yeah, there's that.
Right.
But both of these are updates that will be important with future development, and there probably will be some future development. So what we did want to try and have these done prior to a plan being submitted by any applicant, so that any plans that come in will be under the new ordinance, not the old ordinance.
All right, if there's no further discussion, I don't think any action is needed from council at this time on this item.
The last item is discussion and motion for the limited commercial overlay zoning ordinance. Because this is a zoning ordinance, this also needs to go through the proper steps. The Planning Commission has been reviewing this zoning ordinance, also prepared by Charlie Schmiel from URDC. It actually has already gone through a first pass with Joselle due to the nature of it being a zoning ordinance, but it will need to go back to her for a final review. Mike, would you like to talk a little bit about what the goal is with planning? What planning goal has been?
Our discussions in the comp plan perhaps leave the opportunity for a little more commercial development in the borough, in the center of the district of the borough. You know, it is most of the property that will be covered by this is actually property that's owned by the university. So any real plans to move forward, they were involved with it to some degree. Charlie met with them, I think with Victor and some other people, and some of his staff about it, so they're aware of it. So it's an opportunity for some more commercial development to occur in the center of the borough there. It was reviewed by us on numerous occasions. The solicitor did approve it, did recommend some changes which were made by Charlie Schmiel, and then we voted to adopt, to move forward to you with those changes that she recommended.
And the changes with with the addition of this limited commercial overlay are in line with the recommendations from the comprehensive plan.
Yes, absolutely.
So these are suggestions to add to or change the limited commercial overlay?
No, it's to create the limited commercial overlay.
Okay, thank you.
That's to create this, it's a new district, overlay district on the property that you see on the map, which will allow development that isn't permitted
Okay,
right
thank
now.
you. Thank you.
So just like the first item, we're looking for motion to authorize the final review by the solicitor, followed by sending to Lancaster County Planning Commission. They get 45 days for review. Then we go into advertising. Then we come back to council for public hearing and subsequent vote.
So moved.
Stand by, I'm sorry. Before we move, the limited commercial overlay zoning ordinance, were we provided a map of that? I've read through the ordinance, but I didn't necessarily see in our documentation a map illustrating.
There is a map, I don't know if you have it.
You know, I'm not sure that
I got a map, I'm pretty sure.
Largely, it's on property going down George Street from.
That would have been my assumption,
Yeah.
but
That's the
And
base.
a couple of properties on East Frederick and.
that's fine. And this is not a motion
George Street,
to,
and going up George Street as far as Model, I think.
Mhm.
yeah, and this is not a motion to adopt necessarily, so I'm not gonna hold things.
There is a map,
pending
if
the
it
map.
wasn't included, I'm sure Rebecca can get it to you.
It may have been, we
Yes.
have a weighty number of documents here for us to review.
If it's not, I'm sure.
I'll get it to you.
I appreciate that. In that event, yes, we can move forward with the motion. My apologies, Phyllis. Would you like
Not a
to?
problem.
So I interrupted. Phyllis made the motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Second from Darlene. Hearing a motion and a second. All those in favor of moving this limited commercial overlay zoning ordinance onto the solicitor, LCPC, advertising, and on to our public hearing later, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Very well, the resolution passes. Very well. Thank you again, Mike.
You're welcome.
This is the point in our program where we circle back to our council committees. Although none of those committees have met since our last meeting, we did table the discussion about our short-term rental ordinance to give members of council a little bit more time to review the ordinance and discuss. I hope that I am not diminishing anybody else's contributions by saying this is probably its main event. So we do have a resolution prepared by our solicitor in order to govern short-term rentals.
Joe, I'd like to make a few comments on this.
Mike?
I've only been on the council since January, but this is the most troubling measure put before me so far. It was Mr. Garman who was at the previous meetings. Mr. Grable. Okay, he's not here tonight, but Matt, you I support everything you said, and as far as Mr. Grable as well. And what came up at our last meeting were some legal aspects, and that's always troubling when you hear that word. And now you hear, while I say I support you, now here comes the but. If we, as a council, if we don't go by these legal aspects, and again, I just support the idea of these measures that are thrown upon you, but if we don't agree to them, then the threat of a lawsuit comes up to the borough, and that's a danger. And it was, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I have commercial insurance. My insurance company knows, so I'm covered in case of an accident. I'm not really sure. Are they state measures?
I'm so sorry, we can't.
Oh, yeah.
I forgot to say that in my speech, that my insurance company knows that if anything happens, I'm covered. The city won't be liable.
Sure.
Okay, I'd like to address this also, since I am the chair of Public Works and we have several of those people here this evening. An ordinance has been prepared by the borough and reviewed by the Borough Council, the Planning Commission, the Public Works Committee, and we have had numerous questions that have gone back and forth to the solicitor, and they have been answered, and we feel that we are ready and at a point where we do need to move forward on this particular item. It's one of those things, I guess you could kind of say, we've been kicking the can down the road long enough. And the ordinance has been available online, and at the last Public Works meeting, we also handed out copies of the ordinance. So anybody can read this ordinance at any time you feel free, and wish to do that. One of the things that's really important in this ordinance is that nobody is saying that you cannot have a short-term rental. But what it does say is you must apply for a special exception to demonstrate that the proposed short-term rental unit meets the Pennsylvania Uniform Construction Code as adopted by the borough. So this is one of those things that by law we are required to do. It's not a matter of anyone saying, oh, well, just do this or just do that. There are laws in place that are governing this whole business. Now, I've met with a number of the council members, the borough manager, the officer, and we all feel that there's really no additional changes that need to be made to this ordinance. So we feel that we are ready to move ahead. Now, here again, that doesn't mean that we are approving this tonight. That's not what we're doing. We have to what we want to do this evening is authorize this ordinance being sent to the Lancaster County Planning Commission and then being advertised. This is what by law for a future vote by council. So we are basically just following the law as Pennsylvania states it. Any questions or comments on that? I mean, because that's what it is. So I would like to make a motion that we authorize the ordinance being sent to the Lancaster County Planning Commission and then being advertised for a future vote by council. Any discussion here?
There we go. So, of short-term rentals and the ability of folks here in the borough to have the ability to take advantage of short-term rentals. In as far as we have been able, we've had drafted by our solicitor an ordinance that seeks to accommodate that by keeping the owners of those properties local, while also meeting our legal requirements at the state and federal level. Some of this stuff is unfortunately beyond even our control. It is not our intention to have this be a larger commercial venture by investors and things of that nature. This is trying to make it as accessible as possible to the residents of our borough. And we have, to this point, done our utmost to relieve the burden on the property owners to have rentals of this nature. There are some items in here that, again, that are laws that we have to comply with, that do, in some cases, from individuals that have spoken in front of this council, might mean that there are some property adjustments that need to be made, some improvements, some of which I am sensitive to the fact that they're quite expensive. If there was anything I could do about that, I certainly would. I would say anything. I don't want to monopolize the subject.
Yeah, I know I'm good friends with Mr. Grable, and I know he's an amazing guy, and I'm sure his whole business is amazing. And for the whole time, I was the advocate for the short term until it was put in front of me, well, these are Pennsylvania laws that we have to follow. So, and I'm heartbroken, trust me, of even having to swallow that because I know what it's gonna do to homes like yours, the money that's gonna have to go into it to make it work. And I do feel terrible, but I mean, we have to follow the Pennsylvania law. We have to. There's nothing that we can do about it. I think that's the biggest issue with the whole thing.
I agree with what you're saying, Colleen, is that if the law states that there are certain things have to be done, this is not something we can discuss and say, hey, well, we can do something else, because we can't. Even if we would like to.
And I certainly would.
And most of us would like to see this not have to be quite the way it is, but it's the law.
All right. With that being said, do I hear, I already heard a motion to move forward with this. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Very well, second from Marion. In that event, all those in favor of moving the short-term rental review, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing no dissent, motion passes. Mr. Mayor, can I take us out of this hole?
Well, first thing I want to say is I know a couple people on council and our borough manager have received an posting email from me asking for bars. If anybody here gets not my dhl@millersvilleborough.org email address, it did not come from me, and please do not go buy any credit bars. It's a spam, so just delete it. And Becky, I talked to her, she's also gonna double check, make sure my email is not hacked. We don't think it was, but she's gonna double check.
Well, that was the question, that because we supposedly had a secure, how did they get into it?
Sometimes, you know, sometimes they do find ways in.
Yeah.
Saturday night. Second thing I just want to bring forth to everyone who's here and joining us on live stream. I don't know if everybody's aware of this, but the state is doing some road work on Donnerville Road over the next couple of months. So starting on Monday, there's going to be 3 different sections of Donnerville Road will be closed at different sections. So I have a copy that I received from PennDOT. I'll give this to Rebecca if she wants to put this up on our website and on Facebook. It also shows a map of where those construction sites are and the duration of those closings. So I know a lot of our borough residents do go across Donnerville Road to get certain areas to visit family or shopping over on Columbia Avenue. But I'll pass this down and Rebecca can hang on to it then and get it closed.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And I will now turn it over to the chief to go over the monthly report.
Mayor, I will give you the rundown on the police department activities for the month of March. We answered 359 calls for service. We had 3 ordinance complaints, 1 for disorderly conduct, 1 for noise, 1 for open alcohol, which resulted in 3 ordinance citations. We issued a work. We had 21 criminal arrests, 8 were adult, 13 were juvenile. We had 6 Part 1 offenses, and we cleared 6 Part 1 for 100% clearance. And we had 28 Part 2 offenses and cleared 28. So I think it's 2 months in a row we've had 200% back-to-back clearances, which is a good thing. Total traffic violations were 31 for the month, 14 speeding violations, 17 other traffic citations, 7 vehicle accidents. We issued 161 parking tickets and patrolled just a little over 3,000 miles. The detective and myself did not pick up any more significant or serious investigations, thankfully. There's plenty that we're working on. And I do also note, because we're short-staffed, whenever myself or the lieutenant have to cover any patrol, and Lieutenant Scott did work 6 hours of patrol in March. And the only other thing I will just give the continual updates for our hiring process, that we have 4 candidates in the background investigation stage at this point, so we're still working forward on that. That's it.
And I just want to add, again, it's the dedication, and you heard me talk about Officer Shepard, the dedication he's going to show to our residents in our borough. And we are currently 2 officers short because we have 2 people in the academy being trained. They won't be coming out until the middle of June. And it's 3 months of field training to learn our regulations, our streets, be introduced to our residents, our business owners, and the university. We have 2 openings now that haven't been filled. We have an officer who's leaving as of Friday. We're going to be short. So I'll just pre-warn you that I will probably come to you in the next couple of months to get another add up. Because as these gentlemen start, we're going to have another officer probably within the next 2 months retiring. Yeah, before these officers even come out of the academy. And the ones that are being in backgrounds now to fill 2 we're currently short. I'm going to be coming to the council and asking for some additional officers for this borough because we have how many developments being worked on currently? We have that many more residents coming to this borough, and I want to make sure that our residents are protected by our officers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We'll move on from there to our Millersville University report.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good evening, everyone. Sorry, my screen. So good evening, everyone, and thanks for giving me an opportunity to talk for a few moments and bring up to speed on some things at the university. One of our signature events at the university occurred today. It was the 10th anniversary of our Made in Millersville event, which is our event where all of our students who are working on theoretical, academic, and applied research and creative projects, Marianne, and creative projects, they get to present their research findings at our Made in Millersville event. So today we had 265 different presentations, and they covered the gamut of all of our disciplines on campus. One of the things that was really cool was that we had quite a number of alumni and community members come out and serve as reviewers for the event, because we do give students awards for the program. We also had 3 busloads of high school students from across the region that came to visit our students to understand their research. Hopefully, we convinced a few students that today that Millersville would be a great place to come. So thank you for the outpouring of support, particularly from the community who came out to help with the reviewing of all of our student presentations. Again, it was our 10th year, and it was the largest one to date, so that was great. Wanted to just mention something to you that also matters for the borough, and it's something that if we want to talk about further down the road, we'd certainly be welcome to do that. Millersville University recently was awarded certification as a storm-ready campus. The storm-ready certification is something that is available from the National Weather Service. It's basically designed to recognize those communities, those institutions that have put in place certain procedures, preparedness measures, communication measures to really warn residents and students and others in advance of an emergency, a storm emergency. So Millersville University is one of only 7 campuses in the state of Pennsylvania that is been designated as storm ready. And you know this because you also know that one of our specialty programs on campus is emergency management and meteorology. So put the confluence of emergency management and our weather center together, and you, of course, you could say, of course Millersville should be storm ready. So that's an important designation. I throw it out there to you because there are also across the country hundreds of municipalities and counties that have applied for the designation and worked through the process. Again, it's very much a preparedness and communication process. So how do you make sure that you have the plans in place to alert residents, to alert community members, and then have mitigation measures in place? So I throw that out there for you. If you ever wanted to discuss that as an option for the community, it's certainly something that we would have the expertise to support and help you with. Okay? So I wanted to make sure I mentioned that today. I've got a couple of events coming up that are really great for the community. So one is a public event that we're having later on this month, April 25th, Thursday, which is our MU Disability Pride event. It's our day of celebration and advocacy for those folks with disabilities. And it does cover the wide range of disabilities, from those that are physically disabling to mentally disabling. So the Disability Pride event, Thursday the 25th, it is open to the public, as I said, all around the promenade of the Student Memorial Center, and inside the Student Memorial Center will be a whole range of activities. And we'd love to have you and other members of the community as part of that event. 2 days later, now this is going to be downtown at the Ware Center, Millersville University, in conjunction with Regional, which is a nonprofit organization, is hosting the Regional Climate Summit. So we will have for that day, if any of you are interested in climate issues, climate policy resolutions, climate action, we have a full day devoted down at the Ware Center that Saturday. It starts at 8:30. We'll go until 4 o'clock with a wide variety of presentations that would deal with climate issues, both from an academic standpoint as well as a community action standpoint. We will cover the gamut from clean water to clean air to other areas of climate science. So that event is, again, open to the public and free for those that want to come. Final thing I would say is, about a week after that, we will be hosting commencement. So Saturday, May 4th, Saturday, May 4th, would be our commencement. We'll be having 3 different commencement ceremonies, starting as early as, you'll see probably traffic starting as early as about 8 o'clock or so, going all the way through about 6 o'clock or so. So it'll be a full day of activity within the borough limits, and be on heightened alert for traffic and all the ancillary things that come with it. But also a great day for our local businesses, who will have hopefully a record day with all the families that will be coming. I've already talked to my good friends at Jack's, of course, and they're very happy that we have 3 different commencements, because that means they can actually be capitalizing on both lunch service and dinner service, right? And so we're excited about that day. And that is my report, Mr. President. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Sands, I would be very eager to sit down with you sometime and talk about that emergency preparedness you have.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just in case we haven't had to do it for a while, just in case I have to do an emergency declaration for weather.
Absolutely,
I would definitely talk to you.
You know what, be happy to sit down, we can bring the right people to the table, and we can actually help you start working on it. Yeah.
Megan,
Oh, that's
sorry. Megan, the times on the disability plan.
Yeah, they'll start as early as 9:30, and those will be going all the way through 3:30 that day.
Other questions?
Thank you, my friends. Have a great evening.
We move on now to our manager's report.
Yes, the Penn Manor students could not be in attendance this evening, so go wait to me. Well, so what we do have on the agenda is a carryover from last time, the vote on the Storm and Lancaster race approval. However, I did not receive answers to the questions that were posed at the last meeting, and unfortunately I haven't received response from a number of my emails related to this matter. So it is up to you as to what you would like to do at this point. I do not have answers to the questions, unfortunately.
Yeah, so Storm and Lancaster is a race that touches on Millersville. There shouldn't be any road closures. It is the information that we were given. We had additional questions about other impacts it might have on our community. Rebecca was kind enough to reach out to the folks at Storm and Lancaster to figure out whether or not any of these concerns were valid. We received no response, so we are essentially going blind on whether or not we would like to approve having this Storm and Lancaster race pass through our community. I will speak personally. I don't know that there are any of those concerns that I think cause me any particular hesitation, but I encourage you all to vote however it is you see fit.
Yeah, I think I answered, it's the one run by Tom Ecker?
No, different one.
A different one.
That's the turkey trot, yeah.
I don't really think that this race will impact us much at all, if at all.
I agree with you, Phyllis, I don't think so.
I don't see it. Just knowing the nature of the race and the huge course, and the fact that most people will never make it that far.
24 hours of running.
Yeah, I don't,
just don't.
and I think the time frame is, again, I don't see where you're gonna have huge crowds of people.
Groups, you know, there's gonna be a 1 or 2 here or there.
Yeah.
All right, so with that in mind, all of those in favor of approving the Storm and Lancaster race, please indicate, I'm sorry, may I get a motion,
We need a
please?
motion.
I motion we vote on Storm
So
and
we have a
Lancaster.
motion from Councilmember Coughlin. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from our Vice President. All those in favor then, please indicate so by saying aye. All those opposed? The motion carries.
All right, the next item for the manager's report is a request for a budget adjustment for our ADA ramps ahead of paving project. At the beginning of this calendar year, we brought forward the request to go out to bid for this ADA ramps project, and this involves installing ADA ramps in a number of locations throughout the borough ahead of paving, because it makes sense to put them in before we do paving. While during the preparation of the bid documents, we work with our borough engineer, Rob Wisniewski, with RAV to prepare those bid documents and put it out for us. And when he put together his proposed cost, it came in much higher than we were expecting. Now, it's a probable cost. We don't actually know until it goes out to bid. Right now, in the budget for this year, for this project, it was budgeted $185,000. But what we expect, and that probable cost document was in your backup, we expect that likely it's going to be somewhere between $185,000 and $270,000. Maybe more, but more likely somewhere in that space. We wanted to bring this to your attention because it's very likely that they will come in above budget. We will, of course, know more after bidding. The money that we use, that we budget for this, the $185,000, is our liquid fuels money. That's the money that we get directly from the state. That goes into our Pliget account. The project was actually budgeted $155,000 last year from our liquid fuels money, but that was not used because it was determined that we could not do that project last year due to scheduling. So essentially we have 2 years worth of money budgeted for this work. It was our Pliget account, our liquid fuels account. So with that, it's not necessarily a matter of not having the money allocated, because we technically do have the money allocated. It's that we don't have it listed as an allocation for this year. So again, we wanted to be upfront and let you know about this information and ask for a budget adjustment, again, knowing that we are going to have more information once we actually start receiving bids, because this all has occurred while we've been putting it together, the bid packet. I'm happy to answer any questions on that, but that's where we're at right now for this project. Oh, sorry, Kyle, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
The only thing I would add is there's 27 total ADA ramps throughout the borough. There's Cottage, South Prince, Elizabeth Street. There's all through the borough. We're kind of just trying to get ahead of paving, because every year we have to do the ADA ramp before we pave. So if I want to pave Cottage Avenue, all the ADA ramps have to be up to code before I can pave that. So if I'm trying to budget to pave the road, I have to add this on top of it yet. So it's tough to do a lot of paving because you're paying for these ADA ramps plus trying to pave. So we're trying to get ahead like a couple of years. That way we can get paved when I want to get, go back and do this again, possibly to go to another 2 or 3 years of paving. So it might come up again that instead of paving, we'll do the ADA ramps again, like we're asking. So. Any other questions?
No, a bit of a gut reaction to that bottom line cost, but otherwise, I understand it happens. We do have the money.
Well, I don't think we have a choice. I mean, by law, it's law. You have to have the ramp, so I'm not sure why.
We do still have to vote to approve budget adjustment, so unless there's further discussion, I will entertain that motion.
That's what
Very well, do I have your second? All those in favor of moving forward, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Very well, motion carries.
Wonderful, thank you. The next item on the manager's report is the approval of hiring of Michael Rossi to fill the maintenance worker 1 vacancy. As you're all aware, with Kyle taking the street superintendent to hire for the maintenance worker 1 vacancy. We went through a hiring process. We had a number of fantastic applicants. We were truly lucky and not expecting it. And it was a really tough decision in the end, but we we are confident in this candidate who would be coming to us from Manheim Township, from their street department. Starting salary would be $49,900, and we're looking at the start date of the Monday the 22nd. So we are looking for approval for that hire.
This is who you want?
What's that?
So this is the guy you want?
Like she said, it was, there was neck and neck at the very end, but we're going with, going with our hearts on that one. And
I should say as well that the candidate has already passed background and drug screening.
Excellent. In the future, I'd like to see a resume for these kinds of individuals. I didn't see one in our folder for this for today, but this is who Kyle wants. I am willing to take that recommendation. Do we have any other discussion? Very well. Then I'm looking for a motion to approve the hiring of Mr. Michael Rossi to fill the maintenance worker 1 vacancy.
So moved.
I hear a motion. Second from Darlene. In that case, all those in favor, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Very well. Motion carries.
All right. And the next 2 items are just announcements. Again, this is an announcement coming up once again. 3rd of this month due to Election Day. And the last announcement is about the May 6th Park Commission meeting. As you're all aware, the Park Commission has started just recently on the Park Master Plan project with URDC. And at the May 6th meeting, URDC will be coming to that meeting to give a presentation to the Parks Commission about where they're sort of at in the master plan process, as well as collect public feedback about ideas, dreams, visions for the park. And the Park Commission wanted me to make sure that you were aware that this is an exciting Park Commission meeting, and we're hoping to have the public there to give feedback. We are putting this in a number of other locations as well, but wanted to make that announcement here to you all. And that is the manager's report.
Thank you very much. As far as the president's report, I am simply going to say a few words about our executive session coming up here. We're going to be briefly adjourning to discuss a matter of security. Because it is a matter of security, we're going to take this behind closed doors to discuss. Afterwards, we will come out to take a vote regarding a budget adjustment in support of our discussion. If I sound like I'm being intentionally vague, I am, and I apologize for that. Like I said, this is a security matter. I am not, I have spoken with a couple of my members, my fellow council members up here. I'm not a huge fan of the executive session. I don't like conducting business behind closed doors because it is a matter of security. I do see the need for it in this case. I just wanted to reassure the public that I will be coming back to disclose the contents of those discussions after everything has been resolved and the security issue has been cleared. But for the time being, we are going to have to take that one behind closed doors. So with that, I would like to move that we move into executive session to discuss a security matter. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Good. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. We will briefly adjourn and return after.
Mr. President, I would ask if the chief could stay for this discussion as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
He is, in fact, encouraged to do so. I'm just going to use the restroom real quick. I'll reach in there.
Well, yeah, glad to see you back.
Yeah.
Thank you. Looking good. I'm trying to walk straight because my, oh yeah, I bet. Incisions and all that.
That's not store, I don't think that's stores.
It was on the website, yes, it's different weather. Correct, it's, and I can't tell you exactly. If you look under, there should be some discussions that you can see on the website. Yeah, and it's not under the norm, you are correct, it's not under, don't look up, the newer ones, but, yeah.
I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Are they a lot different than what the long-term rentals are? Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry.
And the answer to that is yes. We can't stop.
Oh.
So we just moved it into the smaller one.
Can't plug the holes in the ground. You want to grab the folks in the lobby?
No, that's okay, just let me start that again. And start that. Okay.
I can't imagine being in a public school now.
Like we lost a few people. Then I gavel us back in here. All right. As a final item, I am going to request a budget adjustment for building maintenance having to do with the security issue we just discussed. Rebecca, would you please remind us again the amounts and where we'll be pulling that money from?
Sure. The budget adjustment is for $12,599. $10,600 of that will be coming out of our sewer equipment repair and service fund, and then the rest of it is going to be coming out of our building maintenance fund in the 2024 budget.
Very good. In that case, I'd like to make a motion for that budget adjustment. Do I have a second? Second from Darlene. All those in favor, please indicate so by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. I am going to look for a motion that we adjourn for the evening.
Motion that we adjourn for the evening.
I'll second.
I think we all will. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. We are adjourned.